Apparently booking a seat on a train is not a real booking if someone else decides to sit there. I was travelling from Edinburgh to London by train and had a booked window seat with a table. I got on the train to find 4 guys sitting at the table. The one in my seat that was clearly marked as booked refused to move as he was with his friends and the train was packed. The ticket collector passed and I asked him to help. He asked the guy to move but he refused and somehow that was that. So what now? I asked. You can find another seat but I have no power to move him, only the police and move him and they will not turn up just to move someone out of a seat. There were no seats free in the carriage and probably not many free on the train so standing to London was a possibility. I'm going to take a seat in first class, better surroundings, power sockets and free tea and coffee. You can't sit there, you don't have a booking. Well, you could call the police to move me but apparently they won't turn out to move someone out of a seat. I had a lovely trip with power for my laptop and a wide comfy seat. My half-sister wanted to show up in a wedding dress to my engagement party, so I changed the party. My half-sister Heather and I never really got along. We both are 24. My father left my mother for her mother and we were born the same month 20 days apart. It has always been weird. It doesn't help that Heather's mom hates me and my mom. By extension, Heather and I didn't have the best relationship. She has always tried to one-up me. Even though we both have a similar economic background. I can give examples of this but for the sake of the world, Limit won't write them here. So now my fiancé and I got engaged last month and had our engagement party this Saturday. We had planned it originally as a casual formal event. Nice dresses but not I am going to the Met Gala ball nice. More like we are going to a good restaurant nice. Anyway, my cousin hits me up saying she has to show me something. It was the picture of the dress Heather was going to wear. This dress. Jesus Christ. It can only be described as opulent. It was long and white. Strapless with sewn-in crystals and golden accents. I'm pretty sure it's a wedding dress but I can't be 100%. This made me really mad. So I decided. Duck that. I started texting people telling them that there had been a change of plans. And that instead of a casual formal I decided to make a costume party. My mother's side is crazy for Halloween so they were immediately on board. I told my father via text and asked for him to relay the message to Heather her mother. Knowing full well that he would forget or leave it to the last minute. Saturday comes along. Guests start showing up. Most of them are in costumes. Some didn't have time to get one. We just provided them with fun hats and cheap wigs. Heather, my dad and her mother came 1 hour late. As soon as she notices that everyone was either wearing elaborate costumes or weird accessories and she didn't stand out she lost it. Especially when my fiancé came along and told her that her bride dress looked amazing for a cheap costume. She left crying and her mother and my father told me that I was being childish and I could have told Heather myself and not have tasked my father. Neighbor took my parking spot after I shoveled. I poured water in his windshield. It was a cold winter day. 8 inches of snow had fallen the night before, and the wind chill made it feel as if it were in the negatives, Fahrenheit. I drive an all-wheel drive SUV so I have no issues getting out. My wife on the other hand drives a Prius, which slides with the smallest amount of moisture on the road. My car was down at the time, so we had to take my wife's car. I spent 45 minutes in the freezing cold shoveling that car out so we could get to the store. We were gone for an hour, and when we came back, our neighbor had taken the spot I had shoveled. Our apartment complex doesn't have assigned parking, but in the winter, it's understood that if you shovel a spot, it's yours. So when I saw his car in the spot I had just shoveled, I was pretty pissed. I went inside and filled 2-gallon jugs of water. Went back out and poured them on his windshield. Rinse and repeat. I must have poured about 10 gallons of water on his car. Being how cold it was already freezing by the time I poured the last gallon on. It sat like that overnight. The next morning, I got to watch as he helplessly tried to scrape all of these layers of ice off his windshield. Don't take my goddamn parking spot. You don't like your boyfriend seeing me braless in the dorm? Then he won't. I live in a college dorm on an all-female floor. I usually wear a bra if leaving the dorm building, but I'm not going to put on a bra under my shirt just to walk down the hall to the bathroom. A few days ago, I left my room and walked 10 yards down the hall to the water fountain, refilled my water bottle, and went back to my room. I was wearing a white tank top and no bra. The tank top was fitted but not see-through, so you could only see the outline of my nips. There was a small group of people hanging out in the hall outside a few of the rooms, but I didn't think much of it, until around half an hour later, when I got a knock on the door from one of the girls I'd seen in the hall. She said something to the effect of, "Hey, so sorry to ask you this, but if you go out into the hall again could you put a bra on? My boyfriend's out there," and he was staring a little, so. I'm super non-confrontational, so I was like, "Yeah, sure, sorry about that," and for the rest of that night, anytime I left my room I put a bra or sweater on. And that was the end of it. Or so I thought. The next day, my roommate told me she'd overheard the girl telling a few of her friends about the incident while in the bathroom. She said the girl was making it sound like I'd been purposely trying to seduce her boyfriend, wearing basically nothing, taking my time at the water fountain, posing to push out my tits, the whole works. When she left the bathroom, my roommate said the girl was actually acting it out at the water fountain, pretending to be me. That night, I passed the girl and some of her friends on my way to go brush my teeth. I wasn't wearing a bra, I was already in pajamas. The girl looked pointedly down at my chest and all of them started giggling. But the last straw was when the entire dorm got an email from the IA yesterday, saying she'd gotten some anonymous complaints about people dressing inappropriately in the hallways and asking that we all just make sure we're keeping things covered up. So here's where I got my petty little revenge. I knew that the girl's boyfriend doesn't go to college here. The girl and I were in the same orientation group and chatted a bit back then. I also knew that due to the pandemic, we aren't allowed to have non-student family guests in the dorms this year. So I used the same anonymous complaint form to issue a complaint about people bringing their off-campus boyfriends into our dorm and them not wearing a mask. Masks are mandatory in the hallways, although not frequently enforced. This morning, the IA emailed again saying that due to anonymous complaints, they'd be enforcing the no off-campus guests rule by checking the IDs of unfamiliar guests to make sure they were students from then on. Really, this girl should be thanking me. If she was concerned about her boyfriend seeing the vague outline of my tits in the dorm hallways, she no longer needs to worry.